everyone, and welcome to the As I Amber podcast. I'm Amber, and I love to talk about music, travel, society, and pop culture. On today's episode, we have special guest to the show, Yasmin. Say hey.
Hey y'all, how's it going?
Going good. It's going good. Trying to stay cool. You know, it's hot out here.
For sure.
But on this episode, I've had so many people who I know whose children have gone away to school or will be attending college this fall. And, you know, they're going away to freshman orientation, all that. And they have so many questions. And I wanted to address their concerns because I know I was a student leader back at Fort Valley State University, which is the HBCU, which stands for Historically Black College, in Peach County, which is Fort Valley, Georgia. And Yasmin was also one of my classmates. Well, we weren't in class together because she's a little bit younger than me, but we were at school at around the same time, and we were both student leaders. So that's just our background. And Yasmin is a wonderful educator. So with all that being said, we have a lot of wisdom and advice to give you all, especially freshmen, first year students at HBCUs more specifically, but this can apply to other universities, but we can only speak on our experience. So that was our experience of going to a historically Black college. And one of those things that I want to get into is like things I wish I knew freshman year. Can you believe it's been like years, like a decade, like since we were in college?
I can't believe it. It seems like freshman year was literally yesterday. Like I feel like the first day when we stepped on campus and had the whole brother and sister ceremony like at Fort Valley, it just seems like it was just yesterday. So it's crazy.
Yeah, so for those who are unfamiliar, at some HBCUs or historically Black colleges, the first year students or freshmen come like a week before school starts just to get acclimated to the campus, meet their roommates or future classmates, future friends. And that is always like a nerve-wracking time. I can remember like going on the campus and then we were separated into different groups. And these groups were named after like the founders of the university. So you have one group, troop group, bond, hunt, whatever. And you're randomly put in these groups. And it's like, our school was smaller. So it might be 100 people in each group, or maybe like 50, 75 people in each group. But you eat breakfast, lunch, dinner, you hang out with the people in your group. You have a little competition with each other. And it's just to get your feet wet to meet different people. And that's a major thing at HBCUs that I think is different at other culture campuses because it's really focused on like a family aspect. So that can be annoying or it can be great depending on your perspective. So what did you think about like freshman orientation week from the student perspective?
From a student's perspective, like I enjoyed it. I really did. It was really cool getting acclimated to the school before the upperclassmen came. And I think you guys, because I think you were a student leader at the time, you guys did an awesome job instilling school spirit in us and like really getting hyped for the year. They separated the boys and girls with us, which was kind of weird because we're like pretty much 18, 19 years old. So, but I mean, I'll look back at it, I understand, especially as an educator, but at the time, it's like, why? But it was cool though. It was cool getting to know each other and get to know like different people. It was a pretty good experience. How about you? Did you enjoy it?
I thought it was interesting. So from the student leader perspective, I saw why they separated us by gender. But from the student perspective, I saw it like, we are co-eds. We are not at an all-girls school or all-boys school. Why y'all putting us separately? But sometimes I think the focus and attention span can be better sometimes. Just for that week. Not for no whole year of classes, because it's like if I wanted to attend an all-girls school, I would have. But I did not. So with that being said, I thought it was really interesting because it forces you to interact with people, regardless of if you wanted to or not. Like, you know, you think I'm in college, I'm free, I can do whatever I want. But at most HBCU campuses, it's a little bit more conservative than predominantly white institutions or what other people may experience, where we had like, you know, it was either dorm checks, room checks, you know, you can have certain guests over after a certain time. It was really conservative, like compared to what our friends or whatnot probably experienced at their
Mm.
universities. What did you think about that?
I see why they did it. I mean, again, like when you look at the time, it was kind of like, this is too much. Like, why? But I can see the conservative ism of the like university, especially. I think we had like, I don't think in PWIs they have like church services. I think we had a church service and everything during orientation week. I want to say we did. So it's like it's things that we did that's like, okay, it's a little bit different from, like you said, our friends and whatnot. But it's, yeah, that's interesting that we had the curfews and all that. I was like, especially upperclassmen, like we're no.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It was really hands-on, like for first year students. They did a whole lot to make sure at the time that we were there, to make sure that we were acclimated to the campus. And I was one of
Mm-hmm.
those students when I first got there. I think I went home for the first time after Labor Day weekend. So
Got
I
you.
was at school for like 6 weeks. And instead of going home every single weekend, like I would go like
Yeah.
once every other weekend,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it was hard at first, coming from predominantly white school to go to HBCU was a culture shock, was different.
Yes.
But I do feel like when you stay on campus, especially your first year, most schools make you stay on campus your first year, and you interact with people depending on how your dorm is, because we
Mm-hmm.
had apartment style dorms. We were a little
Yeah.
bougie,
Yeah.
but
Thank you, Lord.
um the apartment style dorm is where everybody had their own room with the door can close, and you just shared like a living room or a restroom with
Mm-hmm.
everybody. So it was like 4 people to a apartment or 4 people to a dorm. Whereas the traditional dorms were more traditional, where it's like one room with 2 people in it. I didn't have that experience, so I
Thank
can't
you,
speak
Lord.
on that. So I've always
Yeah.
had like my own stuff and never really had to share with anybody except for like, the common areas or
Mm-hmm.
whatnot. So that's always interesting to me, because you hear like your parents or other people talk about their college experience. And I was like, I didn't have to share a room.
Whew. Yes, that was the luxury of it. That's what kind of sold me too. I was like, okay, I get my own space if I need to. I can deal with this. I can't do the whole two. But kudos to those who could do it, who did it and enjoyed it, because
Yes.
I want to know how.
And I think they were closer. Sometimes I think
Yeah.
people who had to share a room together were closer. But then I think about like, I needed my own space.
Yes.
Like, I wasn't doing nothing crazy or wild, but I'm one of those people where I'm accustomed to like doing my own thing sometimes. And I
Mm-hmm.
can't be around people 24/7. My energy battery is
I
like,
feel
wah,
you.
wah.
I feel you 100% on that.
Yeah. So I really thought about like freshman year when we watched shows like College Hill or Real World. Those shows were popular when we were younger. So if you don't
Mm-hmm.
know what those shows are, it was just a show where you take 7 different strangers from different walks of life and put them all in a house together for a couple of months. And one of the shows was The Real World, and the other show was College Hill. But on College Hill, the whole purpose was like 7 different Black students in college or around college age, living together, going to class. And what people fail to realize is your roommates are people that you need to respect, because you're going to come home and see them every day. Y'all don't have to be best friends or eat everything together or go everywhere together, because it's not realistic. Because
Right.
everybody's personality and upbringing is different. But I do think it opens your eyes to like, wow, people live differently, or I never thought to do that, or I
Mm-hmm.
never ate that until I came to college, or different things like that. What did you think about your roommate experience your first year?
Whew. So much happened that year. Well, for the most part, my roommates and I got along. It was crazy because one of my roommates, my parents went to Fort Valley as well. They met at Fort Valley. They knew my roommate's mom went to Fort Valley when they went to Fort Valley. So that was kind of like a connection there.
Mhm.
But it was really cool. Like when you were talking about staying on the weekends, that's when we kind of got to know each other more, because during the week we're all, out of our dorm, going to class, going to the cab, doing different things. So we didn't have time to really bond during the week. But when we stayed there during the weekend, that's when it's like we have a lot of downtime. We kind of did games, we watched TV together and got to know each other more. However, unfortunately for me, my freshman year, I did get into an altercation with a roommate of mine.
Mhm.
Um, I can't remember. It happened years. I can't even remember. It was probably something small, as it always is.
Mm-hmm.
But understanding and respecting each other's space is very important, and understanding that everyone comes from different walks of life. So how you deal with confrontation and how someone else deals with it, it's like it can be completely different. And that was one thing that I had to learn, like living with people. Like everyone doesn't think the same way as I do. Everyone doesn't clean up the same way as I do, or just different things. I might be a morning person, someone else, my roommate might not be a morning person. So we have to respect each other and learn each other. But yeah, it was an interesting experience. But we're cool now. But like, yeah,
Yeah.
it was interesting.
I remember freshman year, I didn't know who my roommate was going to be. So this is when
Mhm.
Facebook was more popular, when Facebook, I'm telling my age, but Facebook was more so for just college students. So I remember checking the mail, really excited. Freshman orientation starts, blah, blah, blah. And they told me who my roommates were. So the first thing I did was go on Facebook and type their names in, because I was like, I wonder how they look. I wonder
Mhm.
who's going to be this, who's going to be that. And it, in a kind of a weird way, it was kind of cool because we kind of connected before we met each other.
That's
So it's like,
nice.
I'm bringing this, you can bring that. So one of my freshman year roommates, because I had three other roommates,
Mhm.
we're still friends to this day. That's my best friend, Antoinette. We met freshman week, and she was my roommate freshman
That's
orientation.
nice.
Even though we were roommates, we were in different groups freshman week at our HBCU. So
Mhm.
I didn't really see her. And she was a biology major, I was a communications major. So we didn't really share any classes, but we lived together. So those are cool things I think about college, because you meet different people that you probably would never talk to or see. And that's one of the things that I miss sometimes, because in the real world, after you graduate, sometimes it's hard to be around people that, like, are your age, whether you work
Right.
in a workplace where you're one of the younger ones or one of the older ones, or there's not that many people that can relate to your college experience. Those things are cool. That's why homecoming is such a big deal and all that kind of stuff. And one thing that I thought was interesting is I bought my car my freshman year. Like, I brought my car to school. So that was interesting because some people were like, oh, can I get a ride? Can I get a
Yep.
ride? Can I get a ride? And gas was cheaper back
Yep.
then. So I was like, sure, we're going to Walmart. You can come. So that's
Mhm.
kind of how I met some people, because I had a car. But then I started getting hip to stuff like, are you just using me because you need a ride or what? 'Cause I didn't mind, thank God I was blessed with a car. But I was just saying, like, we went to school in a more rural area, so we had
Yeah.
to go a little bit farther to go to the grocery store in certain
Mhm.
places. So I needed my car. Whereas if I had probably gone to school in a larger city, I probably wouldn't have one because there was
Mhm.
no need. But I think it depends on where you're at. So anyhow, I had my car my freshman year, and it would be like six of us in there, like, because we all needed to
Yep.
go somewhere or Walmart or whatever. So those were fun memories, and I just think that it's important for. I don't care if I know college may not be for everyone, but I do think that people need to experience living with other people at least for one semester, whether it's
For
three,
sure.
4 months, because you grow differently as a person, in my opinion, when
Yeah.
you meet different people and you're forced to interact, and it forces you to look at yourself like, okay, I'm not
Mhm.
the best, blah, 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 but I can be better in this area. And I just think it's cool just to meet new people. Um, Speaking of meeting new people, the parties,
Woo!
parties,
My
parties,
favorite
and
part.
your reputation.
Yes.
I think those are really important topics to talk about. Like I was saying earlier, when we first entered Fort Valley, that's when smartphones and social media were getting more and more and more popular. This is before TikTok, but this is like the beginning stages of Twitter, like
Yeah.
Facebook. It was
Instagram.
more popular.
Just
So
yeah.
people were bringing their digital cameras to parties. And I feel like that was like the beginning and the downfall of people just having fun, because you're like, I can't really enjoy myself like I want to because I care about my life after college. And I also am a college student. So if these photos are leaked somewhere,
Yep.
you want to be cognitive that, like, a camera is around. So whatever you do follows you. You'll always be known as that. Remember freshman year, blah, blah,
Yep.
blah, blah, blah. And
Till this
people won't let
day.
that go.
To
And
this
I just
day.
think it's important. I was a student leader and I would just tell the girls, have fun. That's what you're in school for. You're also there to learn. Don't forget that. That's what you're paying for. And I think that life is a balance of the two.
Mm-hmm.
And I really do think that instead of telling people, don't wear this, don't do that, don't, explain to them the why. So there was freshman year, and I would just tell the girls, instead of preaching at people and telling them,
Thank
don't
you.
drink, don't drink. People are going to drink, people are going to party, people are going to do things. I would just tell the girls, if you don't put your cup down.
Yeah.
If you didn't see anybody pour that drink, you don't drink drinks that you didn't see be made. And you know what I mean? Because a lot of things can happen. We know the precautionary tales and all that kind of stuff. But like, I just wish that people's parents, not everyone's parents, but some people come from an environment where no one talked to them about those kind of things. They just said, don't do it. And I was fortunate enough to come from parents who told me, if don't ever put your cup down at a party. If y'all came together, y'all leave together.
You stay together. Yep.
And those are important things. I know people have Uber and cell phone, and well, no, that's not safe, regardless of what school you go to. If it's for y'all that left to go to a party, it needs to be for y'all coming back.
For sure.
And if someone want to be booed up and meet somebody, that's on them. But girl code, in my mind, is just like, it was 4 of us when we left, and it needs to be 4 of us coming back, because anything can happen. You don't know these people like that. It'd be different if you knew them before school or something, but I just think that it's strength in numbers. What are your thoughts on that?
I totally agree with that. When you come in, you leave. Like I agree with you on that for sure. What else party wise? Just be mindful. Just be mindful. I know, like you said, there's going to be drinking involved, and sometimes things happen, but just be cautious, with your limit and your intake. A lot of times, unfortunately, things happen, fights. I mean, we just got to be aware of everywhere when you're at a party. Just kind of be mindful where the exit signs are. Be mindful of who's around you. I'm trying to see what else. Yeah, I think those are like key things for sure. You really hit the points.
One thing about parties that needs to be said, because we went to a historically Black college. So if you are at a predominantly Black people party and you see a fraternity or sorority doing their stroll or their dance, move out of the way and do not mimic them. I can't speak on undergrad Greek life because I pledged grad chapter. So I'm an AKA. That's not my place to speak on the undergraduate experience of people. But when you see fraternities and sororities dancing or strolling, move out of the way. If you are interested in being a part of Greek life, do not tell anyone. Keep that to yourself and focus on your grades and your community service and what you went to college for. And really, I'm serious, like, pay attention to things and join groups and organizations outside of that line up with what you desire and what you like. Because you might want to join the science club, you might want to join student government, you might want to join modeling troupe, whatever you want to do. Do things that interest you. But there's also like a code at parties. You see them strolling, move out the way. Don't be trying to mimic them. Don't be telling everybody you want to do this, you want to do that, because they're gonna look at you funny. So what do you think, Yasmin?
Yes, I have a lot to say on that. I did pledge undergrad. I'm a Delta. And another thing about when Greeks are strolling or hopping during a party, please do not try to go in between the line when they're doing their thing. I know sometimes, things, it gets crowded and you're like trying to walk through. Do not cross through, because what's going to happen, unfortunately, I've seen it, they'll push you off, and then that's when things start popping off. So just be mindful of that. And also with joining in organizations, like Amber said, yes, join something that interests you, but don't try to join things just because you want to be Greek. because we can sniff that out in a hot minute. We're like, okay, well, they're trying to do this, this, and this. Like, what's the intention? And not 95% of the time we'd be like, okay, yeah, we know they want to be Greek. We might not know what exactly you want to do, but just be mindful of that. And if you do want to tell somebody, just make sure it's someone that just tell one person, make sure it's a trusted person that you can talk to, because Greeks talk. Don't try to hop and be like, I want to be an AK today and I want to be a Delta tomorrow, because we talk. It happens. There have been people that that have came up and be like, hey, I'm interested in being a Delta, and then you see them cross the next semester and become an AK. What? So just be mindful, like make sure you find an organization that fits in your beliefs, not because they're the best on campus or they're the hottest on campus, just because they're hot on that particular campus. Campus varies, there's different campuses vary. So it might be hot in this campus, but it might not be hot in another campus. So just find one, do your research, and make sure you find an organization that fits to your beliefs. And if you feel like, and Greeks might get mad at me, but if you feel like someone is too mean or whatnot, then that's not the organization for, or that particular chapter. If you might just not want to be in that chapter, don't let that deter you from being in the organization. So that's all I really have to say about life.
Yes, and I think that's something that needs to be addressed, because Black college culture is a different experience. It's a different world. And so one thing about it, outside of the parties and strolling and whatever ideas people have about it, I think it's important to go to class. Here's the thing.
That's what you're there for.
That's what you're there for. I don't care. Like, if you are not a morning person, like an 8:00 in the morning class is not the same as a high school 8:00 in the morning class.
Thank you.
So if you're able to make your schedule, avoid 8:00 classes, because you're going to be sleepy and tired. This is not high school 8:00 in the morning. This is college 8:00 in the morning, where there was like 8 parties last night. You and your roommate stayed up watching TV and everybody's turned up. Like, you're not going to want to get up at 7 in the morning to get ready for 8:00 class after you done came back in your room at 2 a.m. It's not giving. Like, you're gonna be tired.
Please. And with your classes, please make sure as soon as the first day it is to sign up for classes, please sign up for classes the first day. Try to, because sometimes if you wait till last minute, you might only have an 8:00 class, and
you don't have no choice.
You have no choice.
And if you don't, in college, depending on if you have a scholarship or if you're paying out of pocket or you got student loans, if you're not going to class, that impacts your financial aid. It impacts so many different things. So remember, I'm here for learning too.
And don't show up just for test days. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yes. And one thing about it is know who your advisor is.
Yes.
They're really important in knowing who your advisor is, because they're going to help you when it comes down to, hey, these are the classes you need to graduate on time, or this is the class you need for your major, and it's so much more. And you can check out the As I Amber website for additional information. But if you don't feel like reading, here are some other things. If you do not understand something, go to your professor's office hours. Look at your syllabus. That's what they give you usually on the first week, first day of class. You might go to that class once a week, but while you're in that once a week class, you might not understand something. So you need to go talk to your professor outside of those hours. You don't feel like holding up the class, having questions. Go during the office hours time, because you might get more clarity. And hey, you never know who needs to write your recommendation letter. You never know who's going to help you with internships and opportunities later in life. So be respectful, go to class. And another thing that I wanted to say is just try to focus that first year on your major required classes. Everybody got to take Spanish or this, that, because sometimes people change their majors. So just focus on, don't want to take more than like 12 credits your first semester. You're just getting acclimated. I know people want to knock it out the park, but when you first get in somewhere, get your feet wet, take 12 credit hours, be a full-time student, and see how you feel after the first semester to see if you can take on other things. What do you think, Yasmin?
I totally agree with that. Just slow and steady. And like you said, a lot of people want to finish, but it's like take your time. You want to focus on those classes and you want to do well in those classes. And with the professors, there are professors that you will find that like you will form a bond with and that they will really look out for you. Especially like I'm so happy to be a product of an HBCU at Fort Valley because I feel like a lot of my professors really, I wouldn't have made it without them. So please, if you need any help, contact your professors, just get to know them. You might, especially if it's in a major class, you might have them more than one time. It depends on how big
Mm-hmm.
the department is. So you want to know the professors, get to know them, and show up to class. Don't just show up for test days. Show up to class, and they see that. If they see that you're putting in the effort, and towards the end you're not doing so well, and you're talking to them, they might be like, "Hey, I see that you're doing, what you're trying, so I'm going to work with you." So be mindful of that.
And also, if you are interested in other things, you remember your grades come first.
Heck yeah.
You want to do certain things, and they're going to look at your transcript or your GPA and certain
Mm-hmm.
internships or certain opportunities, and it looked like you weren't going to class at all. Don't get mad. um,
Right.
one thing that I have on the list is try to eat healthy. I know the calf is open all the time, and depending on your school and what options you have, just try to drink some
Yeah.
water, especially if you're going to be drinking other substances too. You need to stay hydrated.
Yes.
Try to utilize the free services that the school does have. If you need to talk to someone, if you're feeling down, there's usually like an infirmary, a counselor. Talk to somebody. If especially those first couple of weeks of school, you might feel isolated. Try to get out of your room. Try to go in areas where there are other people and just make conversation. You just never know. I've met lifelong friends because it sparked up a dumb conversation like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
is anybody sitting here? Or do you watch this? Or are you in so-and-so's class? Or you just never know how you're going to meet people. So
That's
be
true.
respectful. Like she
Yes.
said, you might have another professor another time. You don't know who is going to be what when they graduate and get out of school. So you just be respectful and talk to people how you treat people. This is not
Yeah.
kindergarten, but treat people with respect. I know sometimes people try to like have a totally different identity when they go away to college, but please be yourself. Please try to
Please.
talk to people that you don't already know. Have fun and also work hard, play hard. You'll reap the benefits in the end.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, you hit it. You hit it. 'Cause people
Yeah.
remember like how you treat people. People will always remember that. Always remember it.
Yes.
Always remember that. Like treat people how you want to be treated.
And
That
you never know who's watching you either.
yes.
I remember like my sophomore year, I had a Spanish class. It was really hard for me. I made a C in that class, but that professor remembered me when it was time for a study abroad opportunity. And she remembered like, hey, she might not have been a straight A student in my class, but she was respectful, came to class
Mm-hmm.
on time and tried her best. And you don't know how that lady blessed me because she was a part of the selection committee for the study abroad scholarship that I wanted. And had I not had a rapport or relationship with her, not trying to be teacher's pet or anything, but had I not been respectful or decent in her class, I think my life trajectory would be different.
See?
So always be yourself, remain professional, check your social media privacy settings. Um, just be open to meeting new people, talking to new people. Try not to go home every weekend. I know it's hard depending on what school you go to because some places are more rural, some places are more city oriented, but try to volunteer in the community that you go to school in. Try to
Yes.
get a part-time job, or maybe you can work in the summer so you can have money saved up for when you go to school in the fall. But those are some ideas and some tips. So if you want to know more, check out asiamber.com. Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. Yasmin, you have any more tips?
No, I think you hit the nail. You hit the nail. Just have fun, but remember why you're there. Point blank period. To get a
It
degree
goes
or
by so fast,
it
y'all. I
does.
know it
Take your
sounds
time.
cheesy, but like a lot of stuff just happens like a blur. In that moment, it's like, Lord, can I just make it to the finish line so I
Right.
can walk across that stage? But enjoy
Yes.
every
Mhm.
moment, because you don't get those days back. So
Mhm.
that's
Mhm.
about it. Thank you all so much for
Yes.
listening to the As I Amber podcast. Check out the YouTube channel As I Amber. Check out, the Instagram and the Twitter and the Facebook pages. So yeah, y'all comment, share, let your favorite upcoming college student know, and tell them to like, watch, and subscribe. Thank you for listening. Good morning, or good night.